Watch this.
It's a big day in Idaho, but historically, only a small part of Idahoans take part in it. Will this year's primary election tell a different story? Well, you've certainly told us how tired you are of this election cycle, especially when it comes to political ads. Now, you won't be seeing them anymore, well, until the fall. Voter turnout tells us this Tuesday in May is just another day for a lot of people. And trust us, we asked. But we also asked another very important non-political question, one that is just as vital to Idaho opinions. It is down to a matter of hours now. The mailers, the emails, the text messages, the radio ads, the TV ads, well, they've all led us to this day. And we are this close to calling it a day. As for calling the races, that's going to come on a little later, much later. But we have a full night of election coverage on tap for you. First, though, we're going to get into some Election Day news, notes, and some questions with our chief political reporter. That would be Joe Paris, who joins me now. Joe, this is, well, a lot of people call it one of the biggest days when it comes to primary elections in Idaho history.
Yes, and you know, to be honest, and I know it sounds like hyperbole, it seems like every primary election becomes bigger and bigger because of how many people are coming into the state of Idaho. But yes, with every election day comes the question, how many people will actually get out there and vote? And the truth is, percentage-wise, very few people will. Even with the major governor's race, far less than 50% of registered voters vote or are expected to vote today. So what is the projection for today? Any idea out there? Well, a heated governor primary could add more people, but Chief Deputy Secretary of State Chad Houck has this insight and prediction.
30-35 has been a number that we've certainly seen thrown around. Some of the early numbers support it. We had, I spoke with Saul Saylor over at Ada County late last night looking at some of their absentee returns, and we've seen some definite increases in absentee requests that went out. For reference, the last time we had one of these elections with governor candidates on the ballot was 2018. There were about 8,000 absentee requests in Ada County at that time. This year, more like 18,000 requests in that space. So we've definitely seen an uptick there.
Moving on, a unique note about Idaho elections. When you vote at the polls, in person at the polls on Election Day, after you vote, there's a special announcement. Something like this.
Imani has voted. Chris has voted. Gary?
Thank you.
Harry has voted. What's your name?
Mary.
Mary has voted.
Thank you.
You're the first Mary.
Okay, so if you voted, you know what's going on. You know, they do that right after you vote. So what's it all about? A tradition, something important? Well, Houck explains the ins and outs of that tradition.
So that has some historical significance, and that was the kind of the exit clerk, if you will, that's making that proclamation. We used to have a log at the end of the process that they would mark your name down there. And the declaration of that name was originally set for poll watchers, where they typically would sit is at that exit point. And they would have a list of the people that their specific candidate, remember poll watchers are designated by candidates, poll challengers designated by parties. But the poll watcher would sit there and they'd have a list of people that they were expecting to show up in that community at that precinct to vote for their candidate. And if by the end of the day, they hadn't checked that name off the list, that gave them a list to be able to go out and say, hey, we know Joe Smith was supposed to come in and vote for our candidate today. Maybe Joe needs a ride to the polling location, and the campaign would go about trying to follow up with that voter directly.
I kind of misspoke. I shouldn't say it's a tradition. It's actually written into Idaho code that they have to like audibly say that out loud. They're going to say, Brian has voted. That's part of state code.
Okay, but it also, that traditional part of it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. So it kind of shows how function has changed over the years. But anyway, some other Election Day thoughts for you. We've heard some claims in Ada and Canyon County today about poll watchers or poll volunteers wearing buttons, stickers, or some type of candidate support as a part of their outfit, accessorizing on Election Day. Now, viewers reached out asking, is this allowed? Does political signage follow people all the way up until the final moment they vote? Houck says, no, it's not supposed to.
Anything within 100 feet of a polling location, you're not allowed to communicate the name of a candidate in any way. The express sole exception to that, if you will, is a candidate going in on their own to vote their ballot. They obviously have to proclaim their name when they go to the polling, to the poll book to sign in. So they're allowed to do that as long as they get into the polling location, vote their ballot, and head on out.
So if hypothetically you showed up to vote, I don't know, in the next 3 hours and you see somebody wearing a sticker or a button endorsing a candidate, they're not supposed to be doing that. And you're asked to alert the election precinct about a violation there. But Brian, I got to tell you, at this point of the day, there's a good chance that anyone was wearing a sticker or a button against the rules. It's probably been removed at this point.
It's probably, but there's still 3 hours still to go, and anything can happen in the next 3 hours. We're starting to see some lines form up there. But that 30 to 35% that Deputy Secretary Houck mentioned, that would be a bigger number compared to what we've seen over the last previous primaries, going back to even, I don't know, last 10 years, 12 years or so, where they've kind of hovered in the 20s when it comes to voter turnout.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see this year just what the interest is in this governor's race. I mean, very literally, and we talked about this on the 208. The truth is, there's a very strong chance that whoever wins the Republican primary for governor will end up being the governor elected in November. So the race today, with such a heavy Republican emphasis and really population in Idaho, it's a big deal. But as you ask the question, well, do people not care about who's governor, or do they care as much as who the president is? If you look at presidential primary cycles or presidential cycles, you'll see almost double the amount of people get out to the polls. It just begs the question, do people care more about who the president is, who realistically does not have as much control over their everyday life, compared to somebody like the governor, who does have more of a say over your everyday life? And then you can really exaggerate this conversation all the way down to your school board. We've seen just like the effects that some of these local elections have. So it is interesting. We'll be keeping an eye on turnout. Another note we're keeping an eye on, there's a very good chance that Idaho surpasses 1 million registered voters today. I was talking with Houck earlier, as you saw in the interview, and he told me that we actually have passed 1 million voters in the past, but because of the way that the voter rolls work, if you register to vote, you vote, and then you don't vote for a long time.
10 years or so.
Yeah. You're removed.
Right.
So that's possible you could be from 1 million and then go down. But we needed about 10,000 people to register at the polls, which you can do in Idaho. Several clerks I spoke with they would say there's a decent chance that Idaho surpasses 1 million registered voters, which is a big deal. To be clear, though, just because there's 1 million registered voters doesn't mean 1 million people are voting. Probably about 30-35% of that.
Another interesting tidbit, Idaho has a lot of unaffiliated voters.
Yes.
And a lot of them would like to remain that way, and so they don't necessarily take part in the primary because they're like, I'll just wait for the general election.
And that's part of the reason why there's low turnouts in primaries. So there you go.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. All right, in case you're wondering, let's take a look at a couple of polling places right now around the area. On the left, you're looking at Middleton Middle School, and that is in Canyon County. On the right, that is Capitol High School in Boise. And I know we had Tristan Lewis out in Canyon County earlier and said the line was wrapping around the building there in Caldwell, so things are starting to pick up a little bit. Same view, looks like Middleton School getting a little bit, a few more voters there. Capitol High School, not so much. And according to Canyon County's election office, as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, nearly 13,000 people have voted in Canyon County, that 8,000 of those coming from early voting and absentee ballots. And you can see Canyon County really kind of getting out there and getting out to vote. We do not have numbers yet from any of the other counties, but again, those are going to come in. We still have 3 hours to go, so stay with us. I proof there are some things we can never say enough when it comes to elections, and even with just under 3 hours left to vote, it's worth making this clear again. If you're not a registered voter or you are registered as unaffiliated, you can register to vote at the polls. But there's still some confusion about that, as evidenced by the voicemail we received this afternoon from Debbie.
I just listened to your news report on voting, and the reporter said only registered Republicans can vote Republican, and of course registered Democrats, so on. But that is totally incorrect. Idaho Code says unaffiliated voters can vote for whatever party they choose, and that needs to be added to it because you're saying only a Republican, and that is totally incorrect.
Okay, well, Debbie, it is totally correct to say only registered Republicans can vote in the Republican primary today. It's been that way since 2012, since parties were given the ability by law to either close their primary or to only registered members or leave it open to anyone else. And it is correct to say an unaffiliated voter can choose from the other primary ballots. They can choose the Democratic, the Constitution, the Libertarian Party, all of those ballots. But if they're unaffiliated, and they want to vote and decide the Republican side of the ticket, well, they must register as a Republican. And maybe that happened to you today, where you went in and they said, choose a ballot, and Republican was an option, but you're an unaffiliated voter. By hitting that Republican button, you're now affiliated as a Republican. And they can do that at the polls on Election Day. However, if you are registered as any other party, that'd be Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, You did miss that deadline to change that affiliation to Republican. That was back on March 11th, same day candidates had to file. So hopefully that helps clear things up a bit, Debbie. Well, here's something that may help a lot of your mental health. Maybe you've noticed something today watching Channel 7. You've likely seen a lot of election-related stories, sure, but you haven't seen very many election-related political ads, have you? Like none at all. And that's by choice. Our station policy is to not air any political ads on Election Day. The few months leading up to it, well, that's another story, as you've noticed and commented on these last several weeks especially. We've received so many text messages and voicemails and emails complaining about the ads, almost as many as the ads themselves, like these from just the last day or so. Debbie says, OMG, am so looking forward to 8 p.m. tomorrow and the end of political ads. Nancy and McCall, please, please, please tell me today is the last day of this current round of political ads. And then Kevin, wow, I can't remember having to endure so many political commercials. I hope you all, newsreaders, receive a little bonus. Share in the windfall. I wish that were the case, Kevin, but alas, it's not. Okay, so the other part of that text message, you can't remember having to endure so many political commercials? Well, as was brought up when we discussed this today in the newsroom, it's that same mentality of natural childbirth, if you will. Why would anyone want to endure that more than once? Well, because you tend to forget how bad it really was. So we asked this question of our Director of Sales and Marketing here at KTVB. Were there more political ads this primary cycle than any other in recent memory? And the answer we got? Well, not really. Let's take a look at 4 years ago. She told us there were just as many ads and just about as much money spent on them on our KTVB channels. And those ads actually started earlier in the cycle in 2018 than this year, going back to like February. So there you go. Okay, so then there was this question sent in today from Ted in Boise. Hey, Brian, now that we might hopefully have a break from all those vicious campaign ads, can you explain how those ad slots are sold? Theoretically, could one candidate buy up all your availabilities and block his opponent from advertising? How far in advance are those slots sold? Thanks, Ted in Boise. All right, let's see if we can break this down. Let's take these one at a time. Those ad slots are sold like any other. A candidate or a political action committee sends us a spot they want to air. We take a look at it to make sure it doesn't violate any FCC rules, and we'll tell them how much it would be depending on what time of day they would like it to run. We can deny or we can accept any ad. So could one candidate buy up all the availabilities and block the opponent from advertising? No. The FCC has political broadcasting rules, and those require stations to provide equal opportunities to opposing candidates whenever a legally qualified candidate uses the station, the law says, or the rule says. Equal opportunities means candidate B must be provided the opportunity to purchase comparable time at an equal rate as candidate A. They don't have to buy it, they just have to be given the opportunity. How far in advance are those slots sold? Well, according to our sales director, as you mentioned, as early and as often as candidates want. You heard us mention back in 2018, they began as early as February that year. But according to those political ad rules, we have to offer the lowest rates available for candidates 45 days prior to primaries and 60 days prior to general election, which is why you usually see those kind of come up during those times, the amount of ads you see. However, those same rules don't apply to the issue ads. Those are the ones paid for by PACs, not actual candidates. For those, we can charge, well, whatever. So yes, those ads stopped on KTVB as of yesterday, but get ready for them to start again sometime around, I guess, September, about 2 months before the general election. We are taking it to the street to ask you about the election. But somehow the conversation turned a bit controversial. Not about politics, but rather condiments. We're going to stay out of that debate for now, but we do want to hear from you. Join the 208 conversation anytime by texting the number on your screen, 208-321-5614. Don't forget to include your name and the hashtag the208. A word of warning, we're going to share some of them at the end of the show, so keep them short and clean. All right, a lot of things being decided across Idaho today. Unfortunately, as we mentioned, only about 30% of Idahoans who are eligible to decide such things because of indifference or ignorance are going to take part in that. But there are those who are well aware of their responsibilities. Today, as Katya Stepovic found out when she took a couple of questions to the people. She also found out what raises more hackles in Idaho than talk of politics. Just got to throw in a side conversation about condiments.
What are you doing on this beautiful Tuesday?
Oh my God, well, it's so nice out. I'm just like enjoying the weather, you know, just getting out and about. I found this and all these flowers. Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, anything stand out to you about Tuesday, May 17th? Ring a bell?
2 days was my birthday. 2 days ago was my birthday.
I know it's my grandma's 87th birthday, so I don't know if there's any other special holiday.
It's also Idaho's primary election day. Are you planning on voting today?
I know I had something come in the mail, but I haven't focused too much on it, to be honest.
It's election day.
Are you planning on voting?
Yes, I am.
Why?
It's part of our due diligence as citizens and Idahoans, and got to support the people that we believe in.
So what are you out and about doing? I see some books in your hand.
Book buying.
Are you planning on getting out and voting today?
I already voted. I just think it's important. There's a lot of crazy things going on in this country right now. You know, the bookstore is full of displays of banned books, which is unbelievable to me.
There is one thing every American can do about the problems that beset our country, and that is vote. 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 It's our voice. Why not use it?
My husband said as soon as I woke up this morning that I had to make sure I voted. So it is on my list today, and I'll do that after work today.
Does it do any good?
It's up to you. Do you think it does?
Well, my opinion right now on that one is best to myself, you know. Personally, I don't like how things are going, you know, and that's a darn shame.
So you're choosing not to vote today?
Correct.
Why would you say you're doing that?
I don't think it would matter. My opinion about what happened with the presidency was, God, man, it's, how can I put it? Rigged.
All right, my last question is, how do you feel about fry sauce?
I'm sorry?
Fry sauce?
Fry sauce?
Yeah.
I like mayonnaise myself.
You can put it on anything. You can dip anything into it. It's a very versatile sauce.
We don't call it fry sauce. I would say it's a very common condiment that's made at high school lunch tables at lunchtime to put on chicken sandwiches and fries. It's kind of like the quick and easy Thousand Island.
Tell me how you feel about fry sauce.
About what?
Fry sauce.
I'm a ketchup guy, so.
Fry sauce? Easy to make at home.
No.
Oh, well.
No, that's like cats and dogs.
Do you think it is comparable to ranch at all?
A little bit, but fry sauce is way better.
Why?
Because it's just the best.
That's one thing I did not realize is how entrenched the camps are in our own newsroom about fry sauce, whether you're for it or against it.
It is so, I would say, divided out
Yeah.
there. I mean, people are either like, no, absolutely not. I'm ketchup through and through. I'm mayo or ketchup, but never mixing them together. And some people say, die hard fry sauce all the way.
It is. It's as simple as they said. You mix ketchup and mayonnaise together, and that's it. It's a simple concoction that's been, by the way, we know it was invented in Utah. Arctic Circle, we get that. But actually that combination of things has been around for generations, even before that, in Europe and all that kind of stuff. So it's not unique to Idaho, but it certainly is more prevalent, I would say, in the Northwest.
And the argument is circulating in our newsroom right now, where it was from, who's for it, against it. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Not against fry sauce, just for ketchup, I would say.
I'm ranch. Sorry, guys.
Wow. All right, Katya. Hard to say that. Hey, thank you very much. It's been more than a week since the Nampa School Board voted to permanently ban 22 books from its school shelves. After that announcement, Rediscovered Books, a local bookstore in downtown Boise, put a call out for help, asking the community to donate some of the titles that were on that banned list. Titles like The Kite Runner, 13 Reasons Why, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, The Handmaid's Tale, those kind of things. So that was going on last week. Well, today the bookstore says the community has donated more than 1,200 books to give out to students, staff, and community members in Nampa that would ask to read them. They say that's 3 pallets worth of books, and that's a lot. So many, they're going to stop asking for donations and taking them because they have no place to put all of those books. Those books will be distributed at a community event coming up on June 8th. All right, final minute of the show here. Let's get to your comments. This is an interesting point here that was made by Clarence. It's too bad all the political ads aren't run through a fact check. Most would be declared lies or totally misleading. And there were so many, it'd be hard to fact check every single one of them. But I was told this by our sales and marketing director, that usually if there is a problem with an ad, a lawyer will speak up and say something even after it airs that, hey, there's a problem, you might want to check that out. We received 0 of those this year. Maybe just then nobody wanted to push each other on anything, but a lot of it has to do with how they nuance the wording in the video in some of those ads. Bad politicians are elected by good people who don't vote, says Jim in Boise. Still about 2.5 hours left to do that. I'm really going to miss all the vicious ads. I like the political ads. I know I'm in the minority, and you very well will be. This election has been ridiculous. I've literally been harassed. Besides the signs everywhere, the TV and radio ads, the stacks and stacks of mail, phone calls, emails, text messages, it's flat out harassment. I called the state, and the only way to stop it is to ask all the people doing it to pass a bill that says they can't do it anymore. And I'm sure they will go for that, says John. Yeah, probably not, John, but worth a shot. 50 years ago in McCall, fry sauce was called goop in my house. It was salad dressing for me and my brother growing up. The good old days, says Gary. Yeah, if you can mix it up in a school cafeteria, I guess a goop is a good name for it. Love fry sauce and sometimes make with ranch instead of mayo. Is it really fry sauce then? Or basically anything you dip a fry into, is that fry sauce? I don't know. It's a debate for another day.